Hey, welcome to the No One Warned You podcast, the podcast where we have no fluff conversations about the things you should know when you're about to start a business or when you're already running a business. And today I have with me here Tasha Preisner, and this is the second episode. If you haven't watched the first one, go back and watch it because you're gonna get so much gold out of it. And in this episode here, we're gonna talk about how to create a business that runs without you. And and Tasha, you mentioned in the first episode that you wanted to create a business that where you weren't a solo entrepreneur and you could actually create a structure, uh, a business with structure, with departments, and actually that would allow you to scale your business. So share with me and share with us what is it that you learned in this process? How do you do that?
Well, when I started the partnership, I fell into the trap that I did as a solopreneur where I tried to control everything. And that is the problem that all founders fall into. And you can't create structures when you're controlling everything and micromanaging everything. And that's where I had to try to find quality people and then trust them to do the job I hired them to do. And that is another part of the failure that a lot of people do. They realize I can't do it all. They find the quality people, they put them into the place, but then they don't trust them to do the job they hired them to do. And then they still try to do it all themselves. And that's another trap they fall into. And so, one thing that I have done, and especially in my department that I head up, is I'm the head of the tax department of DeMar Consulting Group. And in taxes, it's very important to have a high quality project and product that you send to the IRS. We don't want mistakes. But as I mentioned in the prior podcast, is that humans learn by mistakes. And I learned by mistakes. I cannot take away the opportunity from my employees to learn from mistakes. And that is another trap that a lot of people fall into, is that the moment that their employee makes one mistake, they go back to micromanaging everything and doing everything again. And so then you're just doing it all. I've created a system that allows my employees to make mistakes, but also allows a safety net of us to catch each other's mistakes. For one, it builds loyalty in the employees where it's a safe place for them to be emotionally. They know that they can come to me with their questions, they can come to me with their emotions. I'm not going to be angry at them. I'm not going to yell at them. We're going to collaborate about the problem together. And I allow them to give me pushback. I allow them to give me feedback. And from that, I've seen them blossom in their skills and blossom into areas that I didn't expect them to go into. I've also seen them give me amazing ideas for the company that I didn't come up with, that they took ownership of, and they were able to take the company and the tax department in areas that I wasn't planning on doing. That ended up being really beneficial. So what we do is we have like one person will prepare a return and another person will review the return and catch the mistakes that the other person did. Even if I do a return, I trust my work. I still want to be part of that process. I will still have someone else who will review my work, and I'm okay if they catch my mistakes and bring it up to me and, hey, I found that you put in a social security number wrong. You put in a W-2 wrong, whatever it was. That they feel comfortable enough with me that they even catch my own mistakes and call me out on it. And not like we don't throw each other under the bus of, oh, this person's making mistakes. It's more like we have each other's backs by catching the mistakes before the return goes to the clients. And that is what breeds that we want to make everything together better, that collaboration. And as we bring new employees in, it just makes that structure stronger and more breakable, and that team spirit stronger as we make the structure bigger and bigger and bigger.
Asha, I loved some things you said that one of the keys is just bringing quality people. But bringing quality people is not just enough if you don't trust them, right? And another thing is that people commit mistakes. And
They're going to. Humans do that.
I know. And even like us as owners and founders and business people, we are probably the ones that committed the most, right?
We are. And so instead of just ignoring the fact that employees make mistakes, or yelling at them to get them to stop making the mistakes and making them feel bad for making the mistakes, I decided to build the mistakes in to the infrastructure.
Well, I like that. I'm gonna take notes out of it just because I'm curious how you did that. But mistakes are part of the process, so and so we got to be aware of that because otherwise, as you said, our tendency will be to micromanage, right?
Yes. Or
Okay.
yell at them, make them feel bad, belittle them. There's a lot of that that happens.
And you also mentioned that safety is a key part of that, where you as the leader you're creating a space or a workplace where people feel safe to share what's going on, and you take feedback and you give feedback as well, right?
Yes. And think of it, if you've ever taught somebody how to drive a car, you get tempted to think it's just so much easier if I just drive around, because it is. I've raised a daughter. She's turning 24 this year, and I can tell you, when I was teaching her to drive, it's much easier to just be the one to drive around. But once she learned how to drive, it was much easier to give her the keys for her car and say, you take yourself to school now, instead of me taking her to school all the time. And that's where the investment is to teaching somebody. And in the meantime, when she was learning how to drive, she made mistakes in front of me, and we had to work through those. And just yelling at her didn't work.
It usually doesn't, right?
It usually doesn't. She had to work through those. And even after she learned how to drive, she still made some mistakes, but we still had to work through those some more. And she did. She's a better driver now.
So and there you go, and that's a key mindset where you understand that you as an entrepreneur, you're going to fail, and the people with you are going to fail. But I had a mentor who used to say that those who succeed the most also seem to be the ones that fail the most, which is true because if you're not failing, probably you're not trying something new or you're just playing safe. And if you're playing safe, you're probably not growing. You're probably not innovating. You're probably just uh, in your comfort zone and probably shrinking. I would say.
Yes, that's true in jujitsu. They said there's no such thing as failure in jujitsu. There's winning and there's learning. That's all.
That's a great mindset as well. I love it. And lastly, that you also said about the accountability piece of how you can actually escape of micromanaging, where you create a system where you have the system looking at what's going on, or meaning you have the people in the workflow just looking at one another jobs, or so accountability is a part of it, right?
Yes, we do. I don't just blindly trust. And that's another problem, is that you think, okay, we're just going to blindly trust everybody. But is this trust but verify? And the accountability piece is the verification part. So that's where we have the review process put in. So you have people who are making good tax returns because they're very talented people. But since we know we're all humans, our eyes are going to get tired after looking at lots of tax returns, especially during tax season at midnight, 1 in the morning. We're all going to fail at little bits at times. The review process has another person come in and look at our work and then help fix the problems where our eyes became cross-eyed at times. And that's when we have grace for each other, to not just be like, you're a terrible tax preparer and you made a mistake here, but I got you and I've got your back here.
And that's a very empowering way of leading a team, right?
It is.
Hey, you, and is this accountability piece that we're talking about, does it connect with what you said earlier that you created space or a way where where you would accept mistakes and manage it? I cannot remember the
It
exact
is.
words, but
Yes,
how,
where we build mistakes into the structure, that we expect that mistakes are going to be made. And so we have these safety nets built in to catch the mistakes before they go out. And that is the review process where multiple people are looking at it. Actually, we have 3 people who look at a return before it goes out to the clients. And so that in that process, the vast majority of any mistakes are filtered through 3 qualified people before it gets to a client that will see the return or the IRS.
I see. Oh, and you can't have much mistake, right? Because with when you cannot play around with IRS.
No, or the states.
Yeah, so true. Um, Tasha, I'm curious here to um, to see how your understanding about. Okay, so people is key, definitely. Otherwise, everything's gonna depend on you, or you're gonna go crazy because you wanna be checking everyone's work, and so you can't grow, you can't scale like that.
And I can't go around checking everybody's work. I mean, I don't have the bandwidth, I don't have the time to do that. I'm just one person, nor do I want to do that. I want to be able to grow the business. I want to be able to do podcasts like this. I want to be able to do tax advocacy. So I want to build a system where this team feels like they can collaborate with each other, where they can work together with each other to make high quality products without constantly running to me for stuff. And so I want them to ask each other questions, to come up with ideas. I want them to be able to check each other's work. I don't want to be constantly micromanaging it. I want them to function as a team rather than as layer, like rather than as I'm in charge of you per se. I want them to be more as a collaborative unit coming up with ideas. And so I we have like a teams group, and I always encourage open thought, where no thought is stupid type of thoughts. And I encourage them to give me feedback. I encourage them to come to me with even venting. If they're just annoyed, my door is always open and they can just come vent at me if they want to. And so I feel like it just gives them, they've told me that it gives them a lot of happy feelings about the company, that they just really enjoy working in this type of environment better than a lot of other offices that they've worked at, where they've been either a dumping ground or people have treated them badly or they've been yelled at or things like that, that they feel a lot more supported. And I've always said that happy employees make for happy clients. And so it's very important to keep your employees supported. And I feel like that's my role, is to support employees so that the employees can support the clients.
Basically, if I'm hearing you right, Tasha, what you're doing is you're teaching your team how to think rather than just follow orders. Because whenever you're not there, if they just follow orders and you're not there, they don't know what to do. But if you teach them to think, then they can think for themselves. And since you spend timing, coaching them and talking to them and giving them feedback, they know how you think, and so they can make decisions. That's what I heard out of what you're saying. Does that make sense?
That's it. That's exactly right. Because I know that I'm not going to live forever and I want the company to outlive me. And the only way I can do that is to create something that's more of a legacy than just me going around telling everybody what to do.
You know, I wish we had had this conversation when I first started business, Tasha, because it just after I had sold my business that I started really diving deep into studying leadership. So I had a lot of practical experience, but I had no training in leadership, and so I started realizing that as so I went through this 3 year leadership program in Redding, California. And as I'm going through it, it just hit me like, oh, I should have spent so much more time coaching my team rather than just telling them what to do or sometimes doing their job, because it was just faster to do it for them rather than sitting down with them and coaching them through and teaching. But that's a short term vision. That's a way of that's small thinking. If you have a long term vision, then it's on the long run, it's gonna save you a lot of time if you're teaching them how to do what they're supposed to do and teaching them how you think, and then they can make decisions uh, taking into consideration what you value. So you teach them to think like you think, so they can actually become leaders. So that I wish we had had this conversation um,
Yes.
17 years ago, Tasha. And as we're about to finish this second episode, Tasha, I would like to also hear from you. Uh, if I came to you and said, Tasha, I'm gonna start my business. I have a dream of having a business that doesn't solely depend on me. What would be the best advice you would give me?
I'd say that thriving businesses come down to two major principles: good data and good relationships. If you can nail those two things, whether it's good relationships with your employees, good relationships with your clients, between you and your clients, your employees and your clients, you and your employees, with good data mixed into that, you've nailed it in any industry you're in.
Wow, that's so good. Tasha, thank you so much. Again, just great hearing from your experience, your expertise, and what being in business has taught you. And as we're about to finish this episode, remember this is episode 2 of the series we're doing with Tasha Preisner. And if you haven't watched the first, go back watch it. It's you're gonna learn a lot as well. And now we're going into the third episode where we're gonna talk about something that's very current: learn AI or die. So I see you there.